Hello, everybody. I have been having some massive computer problems the last couple of days. I have a broadcast that I recorded back in December with a great person whose name is Michael Adams, and I have done everything I could possibly think of to get this to share with you today, and it's just not working. So I'm going to try this way, and hopefully you can see it and you can hear it and everything will be wonderful. So here we go.
So here I am. All right. Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us today on #NoLimits. I'm your host, Shelly Pino. #NoLimits is about people that society puts limits on and who have busted through those limits. Ophelia said in Hamlet, "We know what we are, but not who we may be." I believe this to be true, and that there is no better example of that than the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. The caterpillar literally dissolves and its cells reform into a butterfly. As the butterfly emerges from the cocoon, it has to struggle in order for its wings to be strong enough to fly. Obviously, this is no easy process, but neither is breaking through limits that society has set upon a person. But just like the caterpillar, when we believe in ourselves, we can accomplish more than others might think. If we have a support system around us to encourage and facilitate our growth, even better. And that brings me to my guest today. I have been following him on Instagram for a couple of years now. He is providing a healthy support system for his clients in more than just a metaphorical way. Welcome, Michael, and thank you for joining me today on No Limits. Please introduce yourself and tell us how you support those society has placed limits upon in more than just a metaphorical way.
Oh my goodness, that's a big question to start with, isn't it? Hey there, I'm Michael Adams. I look after a small company called Flying Kiwi Fitness. We look after a whole bunch of athletes with all abilities, everything from helping young athletes with all abilities get up and out of wheelchairs and trying to walk, all the way up to, a special Olympic powerlifting and gymnastics, and everything in between. And all we like to do is make sure that everyone who attends our sessions enjoys themselves and sees the gym as something that is, good for them, something that they enjoy, that really puts a smile on their face. And our number one rule for everything we do is, as long as everyone leaves with a smile on their face, we've done the right thing. Because it's, as most people know, with people with special needs, it can very much be a marathon, not a sprint. So we want to make sure we're playing that long game. And regardless of if they're seeing us or not, we want them to associate the gym and exercise with happiness. And if we can continue to associate that over time, it really does yield really good results for, the 10, 20, 30-year plan, when they may be living more independently and trying to sort themselves out. And we want them to get to that position where they think, oh, I'm unhappy. You know what? Exercise used to make me feel happy. Let's try and do that. That's, I guess, the whole goal. And look, we love to do it. We have a lot of fun doing so.
That is wonderful. So now that you've spoken, my guests know that you are not from the United States. Everyone that's been on so far has been from here in the United States. So we have a 16-hour time difference. And so it is super early in the morning where I am, and it is nice and late evening where you are. So thank you for joining me and coordinating that big time difference there. Obviously, me living in the United States, I know a lot about the special education system here, but I apologize, I really know nothing about the special education system there in Australia. What is available to people who have different physical needs or who learn differently there in Australia?
I'm not necessarily like the professional in that kind of respect. I do obviously a lot of stuff in the gym setting, and I've looked after a little bit of stuff inside what's called a special school over here. So that's what young people with special needs, all abilities, attend as they go through the school system. So there are plenty of parents that put their young ones through what's called like mainstream school, so your regular, junior high, whatever. I think that's the American translation. But they go through the special school system, everything from, prep all the way up to grade 12, which is like the end of high school here. And they can do that through the special school system. I think there is a bit of dependence on what state they might be in. So Australia has multiple states, and depending on that state will change up slightly, I think, how it functions. But yeah, they're put through kind of that whole school system, and they're as supportive as they can be. I've met plenty of teachers that obviously work in the special schools, and they're all brilliant. They really love what they do. The bad eggs of teachers seem to be very few and far between, which is really, really awesome to see.
Yeah.
All the young guys and girls are all looked after very well. But in terms of like the actual system they go through, it seems to be like the regular school system, but maybe put on their own kind of time frame. So, whatever they're, depending on ability levels in certain aspects. So, I'd say, math, English, all that sort of stuff, I'd say they get changed around slightly, but it seems to be they all stay within the same kind of class majority. So you don't have, from what I've seen from the local special school, the brief bits I've had, is that the whole class attends math, English, PE all together, but inside their own little class, they might have slightly different tasks of what they need to do. And they might work together to try and complete tasks, but each class will be classified on how their ability is, and then they will kind of try and gauge as best they can through that. So it's not as individualized as what we would love it to be, but I think it's still very much as supportive as it can be with, the small volume of, special needs students there are amongst all those schools. I've got a lot more people that know a lot more about it than I do, but the brief kind of brush I've had with it, I believe that's the system. So all my friends that end up watching this can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I believe that's roughly how it works. And then after grade 12, I believe they do have the chance to kind of go back and repeat their grade 12. They can do it again until they kind of feel comfortable. And then after they finish that, there are a couple of programs, like there's a great one in Brisbane called ORCA, and it's basically the post-school, not education necessarily. You can go to different education places, but it's more like job skills, and they take you through teaching you how to write a resume and how to do a job interview, and they teach you how to run a small shop. Some of the young ones I look after, they have they make like dog food and dog biscuits and things like that. And, customers come to their, little shop front at Orca, and they'll pay for their stuff, or they'll make an order, and then it gets made to order, and they're all a part of those different processes. So eventually, hopefully, they can pop that on their resume and, hey, look, I have kind of done this, I understand it, and hopefully that gives them that chance to go through the, job system and get them working. And, it really does become a, we always hope that, work and contributing back to society really becomes a big part of their life as they grow up. That it helps to build that independence too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That sounds fairly similar to what we have here in the United States as far as how their education goes throughout their what we call preschool or kindergarten all the way through year 12, and how they may have separate classes, or they could just receive some extra help with the different subjects that they have qualified to get that help. And then, once they hit age 18, they have the opportunity to stay until the day before their 22nd birthday. And depending on...
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So depending on what needs they have, anytime after they would graduate what we call high school, around, like I said, the age of 18, then they have the ability to stay, as like I said, up until that day before, or if they just want to stay an extra year. However, it's determined by the family and their what we call their IEP, their individualized education program. team, which is the school staff, their family, and therapists that they might have within the school system. So it sounds kind of the same. So what are the ages of the clients that you are taking care of?
Almost everyone I look after is over the age of 18. So all of them have left school. I do have a few in between that are kind of, you know, the maybe 12 or 14, and you know, they're still going through the school system and stuff. There have been a few inside the company that have, I'll move back because that seems to be doing this. And there we go. There seems to be, you can still hear me? Good.
Yep, you're good.
There seems to still be a few that they come to the gym program and things like that because they're learning online. So they actually learn at home because of, you know, it might be behavior or it might be, you know, social anxiety, things like that. But they learn online, and so they kind of have during the day quite free. So they come and see us during the day. But my original business or my original class I kind of looked after was a whole bunch of grade 12 athletes. Well, they weren't athletes, they were students back then, and they wanted to just, with the teacher, Janine Hussey, so one of the grade 12 teachers at Astley Special School, she came down to the gym and asked if she could have someone to help teach them what the gym was all about. And I ended up being that dude, and I helped them out a little bit, and it was a great time. And that was kind of where my first basis of clientele, I guess, came from, after, you know, kind of looking after them for a wee bit in a group capacity. Started doing the one-to-one stuff, or 2-to-1 first, then 1-to-1. But because of that, it's kind of their peer group as they've grown up. They've all kind of chatted amongst each other, and they all see each other doing the gym thing, and they all kind of join in. So I have a lot more of the school leavers and the kind of, you know, 19 to 27 kind of range. And then my other team member, Sam, seems to have a lot more of the younger ones. You know, he's got a few more of the school leavers and some that are still in school, because I've kind of filled up my time spots, and he takes all the overflows that he has, about 10 to 15 athletes. He looks after himself, and then I look after you know, everyone else I've got. So in our program, Strong Hearts program, which is kind of the group, runs on a Monday and Thursday, but it's 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So you can't really attend if you're still in school. So it just ends up being that we have a lot more school leavers, you know, so that 18 plus kind of category comes in. But it just depends on what everyone wants, and you know, what they want to achieve. We do have a lot of people under the age of 12 who actually inquire, or their parents inquire, obviously, for them. Unfortunately, we can't take them inside the gym environment. That's not allowed kind of inside Australia unless there's like a parental thing that kind of has to happen because of growth stunting and all that sort of thing. And so we forward them onto exercise physiologists or someone else that kind of specialises in that stuff, or they can just do group play, and they can do that amongst a couple of different providers. So for our specific clientele, it's kind of the 18 plus, just because we've really captured that kind of school leaver. There we go. Like, we kind of captured the school leavers over the past few years. I mean, that was back in 2015. I had that first class, so you know, it's been a while. One of the girls actually celebrated her 25th birthday today. So it's Emily's birthday. So happy birthday, Emily!
Happy birthday, Emily! That's wonderful. Yeah. So how many people do you have? Well, actually, let me back up a second. So the gym that you run here in the United States, when I think of a gym, you know, it's a bunch of exercise equipment, and you can hire a personal trainer to help you kind of get yourself figured out as to what equipment you want to use and how much, if you're going to use weights, how much you should start with, and all of that sort of thing. So in your situation, is that the same, or is yours specifically for people that come in and they've already hired you as a personal trainer?
I guess it's a bit of both. So we are in a big gym. So we're at Good Life Chermside is where our base of operations is. So we have an indoor sports center nearby that we use for our Strong Hearts program. So, you know, the big nets and the hoops and the goals and stuff. And then our one-to-one coaching that we do, Sam and I, is held out of what's called Good Life Health Clubs. And they are a major mainstream gym. They are the biggest gym chain in Australia. So think we have 24 personal trainers and about 5,500 members. So it's a large gym. It's a very large gym. And just equipment everywhere and people everywhere. It's quite a happening place. However, as you can imagine, the majority of people attend the gym before they start work at 9, and after they finish work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. And so during the day, it's rather dead, except for kind of the mums and bubs kind of session, 9:30 till 11. And so Sam and I are really lucky because as PTs, generally we don't start early because none of our athletes want to start early, and we don't finish late because everyone wants to be home for dinner. So like, I'm really lucky as a PT. I don't start before 9 a.m. and I think only once a week I work up till 6:30 p.m. And the remainder of the time it's really, really good. That's because none of the athletes want to get up at 5 a.m. as you have. They're sleeping. And so I'm very, very lucky. But yeah, so we operate inside the big gym and we kind of mostly operate inside the dead times. There's still a lot of people in the gym, but compared to the peak time, there's barely anything. And they all attend the gym, and you know, it's a publicly used gym. You know, there's lots of people come in and out, and you know, we could have anyone walk through the door that has a membership. So you know, I think at first it can be very intimidating for a lot of them, but I think it builds a sense of self-confidence, and it's kind of that adventure part of the gym is, hey, look, you're going to run into people you don't know. So I think it kind of serves as a good solution to teach them, you know, less anxiety when out in public and things like that, especially when they start associating the gym with the happiness and achievement that, you know, like, hey, maybe if I'm out in public and, you know, it's maybe not so bad because they're now associating that public stuff with good feeling. And the second part of your question, like, generally speaking, if they're coming to our gym, they've usually already hired me. So they will kind of approach us on social media or via our website or, you know, whatever the case. And they get, a lot of the time it's also from just, you know, referrals and then they check out our social media and then can contact via there. So it's kind of hard to gauge how much it is, but they've generally gotten to the gym with the intention to train with our brand. So we're very lucky in that respect that our brand is kind of, we don't really do advertising, we just kind of post everything we do, and that's what is kind of, you know, building the clientele. So they find us and approach us rather than us having to go out and prospect for it anymore, which is quite nice. So I hope that kind of answers that.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good idea, like I said, for anybody, you know, who goes to a gym to have a personal trainer. But why is it even more important for someone with, say, Down syndrome or just really any kind of physical disability, like the clientele that you have, to have somebody to really explain to them how to stand, like in your powerlifting team, and how to hold the bar and how to do the actual lift? Why is that so important for people with disabilities compared to a person without a physical disability?
I personally believe I think everyone should attend the gym. There's kind of an analogy I sort of use that I heard a really long time ago that I guess kind of still holds true. I mean, you know, anyone with, you know, some sort of physical disability, obviously, you know, they face troubles, you know, and it can be very difficult to access general day-to-day life. And so in order to, you know, I guess do so, I'll move this way. There we go. In order to kind of do so, you know, they really have to exert themselves. Sometimes it can be very difficult tasks that they have to undertake, and it can be really difficult for them to get through those sorts of things. And so I think attending the gym, you know, kind of puts them through that little bit of, you know, tough going and things like that to come out on the other side like they've achieved something. And so I think it kind of builds like a mental fortitude almost, and a self-confidence, you know. As some of the guys may not understand, you know, like, oh, you lifted 50 kilos, now you lifted 55. You know, oh, you've had a 10% increase in how much you can lift and blah, 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 blah. Man, they don't care about percentages. They don't care about that. You know what they do understand is bar is now bigger, and bigger is good.
Yeah.
Hey, happy. That's all we need. You know, as long as there's some sort of correlation there with you are getting better, you are achieving, and you are doing really, really well, and we're really proud of you, that positive reinforcement just kind of, you know, really moves on them. You know what I mean? And I think like the analogy I kind of use is if you've got a Rolls Royce, you know, a huge luxurious car. The thing would be, you know, a V8 or a V12 engine, this massive engine, and all it does usually is just coast along at, you know, 30 miles an hour, I guess, or 60 k's an hour here.
Yeah.
And you know, it just coasts along. Why does it have such a big engine? It's not because it's going to go out racing. It's actually just so that its general tasks that it does do, the revs aren't redlining, they're just coasting. Right. So regular day-to-day life becomes easier if, you know, Emily can deadlift 110 kilos, awesome. But in her day-to-day life, when she just needs to pick up a bag of shopping, she's not redlining, she is just cruising through life as easy. The stuff she faces is quite easy for her body to get through. And so, you know, we have a lot of guys and girls with, you know, physical impairments, and you know, they need to work on their body to make sure that they can, you know, when something comes up, they can do it, or they feel self-confident enough to give it a go, or they've lifted big, heavy things before, so this seems like nothing. And they can give it a good oomph, and you know, we teach them a good posture to do so. And hopefully from there they can be as, you know, as strong and as safe as possible in their day-to-day life. You know, moving forward, and always trying to improve to be better. So, you know, we want them to have the Rolls Royce on the body in whatever capacity that is. We want them to, you know, be able to do everything without it even being a struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a fabulous analogy. I really like how you put that there. And yeah, so often it is so much more difficult for them, like you said, just to do those daily tasks. Because of the different muscles that are needing to be used, and that not only the mental ability as well to just have that desire to not give up. So you had mentioned a little bit ago that you've had some clients that have been in wheelchairs, and you've helped them get up and walk, and just the deadlifting and things like that. So, and I didn't ask you this ahead of time, so this is one of those things where I said I might just kind of go off topic.
Not even worried, go for it.
What to you has been the biggest change in a person from when they first came into your gym till today, or until they left? Maybe they're not there anymore.
Well, that's so rough. I don't like playing favorites.
It's not playing favorites. It's just the biggest, I don't know if accomplishment is the right word, but the biggest growth or the most growth in their ability. Maybe if I put it that way, then it's not like
I get I think there's been a couple. There's definitely been a couple. We have one athlete who has gone through a big change. When he was, you know, when he was young, he was just your, you know, regular, you know, little schooler. Unfortunately, he had an accident while, you know, doing a hobby one day, and basically went through a brain injury. I believe brain surgery, that sort of stuff. And now he's basically got like a semi-paralysis down one side of his body. And you know, when he first started with us, he just kind of enjoyed walking. Didn't really lift that much weight. Liked the idea of lifting weight, but never lifted it. And you know, we started getting him to lift weights, and he's got a bunch of support workers. This is not just me. This is many people helping out. But, you know, there's a physio and a physio and a hypertonicity professional, and you know, multiple people around him. And you know, now you know, I can give him a 6 or 7 kilo jumbo ball, and he will march. I mean, I can say Billy, like, this is just common knowledge. But, you know, I can give him a 6 or 7 kilo ball, and he will march on like 8 or 9% incline on a treadmill, stomping away with, you know, his AFO on one side and his you know, fully functioning leg on the other side. He'll finish that after 1 minute, leave that, jump on the Stairmaster. You try doing the Stairmaster with only one properly functioning leg, and the other side is in an AFO and doesn't get as much hip movement. He has to swing himself up and things like that. And he will go 5 rounds of that. He plays touch footy with one of our other guys, Liam. He's got LXT support services. He runs a touch footy little camp. And he was taking him to actual touch footy games, and he was joining in, and he's trying to run, and he's playing passes and stuff because he loves rugby. He loves the NRL over here, is huge. You know, he loves that sort of stuff. You know, the current goal is now to get him to hike the Kokoda Trail, which is I don't know if you guys know the Kokoda Trail over there.
I don't. Maybe my guests would. I mean, my viewers would.
That's okay. Yeah, it's basically what's the best way to put it? It's a 60-mile 1 week hike.
Oh my God!
Through bushland in Papua New Guinea. I think it's Papua New Guinea. Yeah, and we're talking overland, we're talking hills, we're talking rivers, we're talking, yeah, and you go through with your own pack. And this determined little bugger wants to do that. So that's pretty cool. And he works hard. He gets his stomp on. He'll go a 5-10K walk around his house and around. He's lucky he's kind of got bushland near him and stuff. And you know, he loves going up there every day. And, oh, you know, what's your steps at? He challenges me every day. I always bloody lose because he's always just he'll arrive at the gym and he'll just be cutting laps. You know, he comes to wherever and he's just walking and he's stepping on the spot and he doesn't stop. He's a madman.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And we love it. You know? It's not to say he didn't have it in him beforehand, but I guess like the biggest physical change, you know, you see the size of his arm now. You know, he trains hard. He's got a nice chunky pec, shoulder, bicep. You know, his legs nice and you know it's firm. It can really he can go for walks and doesn't fatigue out. You know what I mean? He can hoist some solid weight now. He can stomp for ages. You know, the change and all that, and even in his balance is being able to extend his other side. It's all a great change. We really love to see him do it. You know, it's really cool. He'd probably be the biggest change. There have been a couple of others, you know, that have just been glued to the wheelchairs and they never want to get out and kind of get them up and moving a little bit. You know, if they've got cerebral palsy or if they've got whatever, and we manage to get them walking without any sort of aid. Look, that's amazing. You know, it's building that self-confidence. But unfortunately, not all of them have stayed with us for as long, be it for funding reasons or moving or whatever the case. You know, but you know, Big Bilbo has been just stomping away this whole time. I've been looking after him since 2017, maybe early 2018. And yeah, little bastard doesn't stop. He's awesome. We all love him to absolute death. He is a great dude, and he just wants to be your mate. You know, he just loves being just one of the lads. Has issues, you know, difficulties talking and stuff like that, like communicating. You know, like if you've been around him a while, you can kind of pick up what he's saying or who he's referencing. You know, like he talks about, you know, Liam Sui, one of the support workers. You know, if you know, oh, who's in there? He goes, Liam, and you go, oh, who? And he goes, short guy is Liam. And he's like, oh, you know, there was a funny story of he was home and his mum was home as well, and one of the other support workers, Hayden, had just shown up, and he goes, you know, he yelled out to him, like, Mum, and she goes, yeah, what? And Billy looked down at him and goes, Hayden, and Mum didn't quite pick up because she was doing something else from what he was saying, and Hayden, and she goes, what? And he just looked at her square and just goes, bald. And she went, oh, Hayden's here. So like he's got his own language, you know,
Right.
and you know, you start understanding it after a while. And you know, there's you know, so he's probably the biggest change, and he's brought out a big change in me as well. You know, just, you know, I've got no excuse to not be fit myself. Like I got nothing. Oh, I'm busy. Yeah, no, that doesn't fly.
Yeah.
You know, this guy functions on essentially one side of his body, and he just achieves so much. I can't pull any cards here. He's got me beat. I've got to just work at it. You know, don't face him at an arm wrestle. He'll cripple you. It's crazy. That one arm is so dominant. And it's left too. It's his left arm that he's got really dominant. So everyone comes in, you know, they think, oh, right hand, and they go, no, left side.
Yeah.
And yeah, he crushes everyone. I haven't seen him lose an arm wrestle yet. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And I love that you mentioned that you have changed your perspective about yourself, because that is very similar to my own experience when I started off in education and thinking about being an educator. I was going to go into general education and had this little voice that would say to me, you know, yeah, you should try special education. And, no, I don't think I can work with them. I don't think I would hold them accountable enough. I would feel too sorry for them. And I had this just very bizarre idea of what it would be like to work with special education students. And then as I grew up and went through the rest of my schooling and did my college years, I kept getting myself into situations, or actually I say the Lord put me in those situations so that I didn't realize I was working with those kids. And I started to change and was changed by everyone that I worked with, and just absolutely fell in love with working with the population that learns differently. I like to refer to them as learns differently, or has unique abilities, because I don't like the word disability, because it makes it sound like they can't do certain things, and maybe they can't to the same extent. But typically, the people that I've always worked with, at least, have been able to do pretty much whatever they've put their minds to some level. And so when I talk about learns differently, I just wanted to explain that, what I was meaning. So, so is there anyone that you have ever had to turn away because for whatever it was, you just weren't going to be able to help them? Not because you had a full schedule, but because their ability was...
Not really. I mean, we've had probably 3 that have had to leave for behavioural reasons. I've unfortunately had chairs thrown at me. I've been punched square in the nose. That one sucked.
Yeah.
And you know, that didn't go on. And I had another one, you know, grabbing me by the scruff of the neck, not out of anger, but out of like a anxiety, it was a really different situation. It was more of he was finding it so difficult to express himself in communication, and you know, couldn't speak whatsoever, and it was just kind of grunts and things, and you know, the poor guy was, you know, 16, 17, so I think there was also the you know, the sexual development side that he couldn't explain how he felt, and things around him were more difficult, and he'd want to just grab and hold on to, you know, you know, like mom and dad would say, you know, giving him a hug calms it so much. But we can't have the average person hug him because he doesn't know where boundaries are, and that sort of thing. So it becomes really, really difficult. But it's almost that exchange of trying to go for safety, which unfortunately safety comes above all else, at the expense of that safety would be the only time that he could probably actually exert himself to feel comfortable to actually get through that development. You know, so it's that catch-22 of it doesn't matter which way you take it, it's going to be difficult. Yeah, so you know, I've had a couple of, you know, that was one particular issue, and then I've had a couple of others that have just had, you know, the behavior that they just, you know, if I had them inside a gym environment, I couldn't hold them there. You for fear of, I can't have them running around grabbing other members of the gym. They've got a member there. They've got nothing to do with what we do.
Right.
And so in those cases, we've tried forwarding them onto other gyms that purely specialize in doing that, which there are a couple around. And we'll try and forward them on. Look, I get paid well. I do fine for myself, but I'm not here to take anyone's money. If I think someone could be serviced somewhere else, I will happily forward them on. I have no qualms with that. If I think you're going to be looked after better somewhere else, I will send you there with no qualms, with my absolute blessing. I'm just a human helping other humans. I'm not here for a paycheck.
Right.
And I think because of that, I've probably had some of the success I have had is because I genuinely love what I do. And I've got the best job in the world, right? But I think forwarding on clientele where needed, it seems just like basic business to me, because it always swings and roundabouts. Someone else somewhere else forwards me someone, and we're away. I've turned away a couple out of behavior, but we always try and get everyone moving in whatever capacity. If they're approaching us, generally speaking, they've already made that decision that they want to do something, and we will do that something with them. Whatever it is.
Yeah. So, worldwide pandemic known as coronavirus, how has that affected you, or has that affected you with your work?
Yes, very much so. I'm a pretty hands-on dude. Not anything it's not like it's anything that makes it difficult. It's more that, for example, if I've got someone lifting a barbell, I kind of have to be in your face to make sure said barbell doesn't crush you. That's kind of my job, and so it makes it very difficult. We were at the gym for a while. They had a mask on or whatever the case. But doing the face-to-face stuff, especially considering our clientele have a lower immune system. The average person with special needs has a lowered immune system. Down syndrome, autism, all that sort of stuff. They generally haven't had the same exposure to the average outside world as what we have, and so their immune system has not grown as much, and so they caught COVID. They unfortunately would have a really rough time fighting it. You know what I mean? And so I think because of that, it kind of extended out how long we had to be in a lockdown. But we basically took everything like this for about 11 weeks straight. I was sitting in front of my computer for anywhere from 7 to 10 hours a day, and I was tuning into all of my clients' lounge rooms, and we'd get them to fill like 1 liter water bottles, and they'd kind of be their dumbbell, or they'd be holding a pillow over their head and doing overhead extensions, or they'd be sitting down, standing up to a chair with hands on chest or hands on head, or depending on what their movements were like, and doing rows. We had young Cooper had a Dynamo washing detergent. It was like a 6 kilo thing, and she was doing deadlifts in the middle of her lounge room. That we just had to get them moving however we could.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was just what we had to deal with, and so we just dealt, and did whatever we can by Zoom, and should have bought stocks in Zoom, obviously, because
everybody should have.
I was using it about an hour before this. It was it's been crazy, but so lucky that technology has allowed us to do so. Every day at 10 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, I would tune in for what we call the Flying Kiwi dance party. And basically, we had everyone tune into Zoom at 10 o'clock. We said hi to everyone and all that sort of thing. We did a little warm up where we listened to Escape, the Pina Colada song, and we'd all be doing stretches and all that sort of stuff. And then we went around the whole screen. Everyone that had tuned in for the session that day would pick 3 things for Simon Says, and then they would get to pick a song that we danced to. So they might do some squats, or do this or do that, and then spin around in circles, and then we had to then we'd boogie for a minute to whatever the song was, change person, have some water, keep going. And then I'd do things like we'd all right guys, we're gonna have a race. Whoever can run out to their letterbox and tag their letterbox and come back fastest wins. And 3, 2, 1, go, and you watch the whole screen go. And you hear mum and dad in the background like, "Where are you going?" And they're all like, "Whoa." But we just had to do whatever we could, get them moving, get them out their chair, because some of them were loving just having 12 hours of iPad time if they could.
Oh, I bet.
So it was a rough time, but yeah, as I say, we did whatever we could, but we had them all moving as best we could online. And once we could go back, I kind of stayed away from the Good Life gym, because they had so many people in there. They could have upwards of, I think they capped out at 100 people at a time in the gym, and then we went into lockdown, and then when it came back up, it was like 50 people at a time, I think. And I really wasn't liking that idea, so I went to another gym nearby, Strength Sanctuary, actually from my house. I could probably almost throw something on the roof. It's very, very close to here. And we used there, it was a private gym. So, not private, it was a commercial gym that you could have a membership to. Only had a membership base of like 120 in total. So Good Life being 5,500 versus 120. So there was only 20 people in the gym, absolute max during like peak time.
Right.
During the day, it was almost just myself and one of the other coaches that used to train at Good Life as well. He was there at the same time because we didn't want to do the whole big scale thing over at the other gym at Good Life. So between the two of us and there was probably three. There'd only be 6 people in the gym plus one support worker that would come with the client, and that was it. So we just trained at the smallest crowd possible and kept our distance from everyone else, and we're cleaning equipment as we went, and that was kind of for maybe 6 weeks, I think, and then we finally went back to Good Life when more restrictions had eased. It was a roller coaster for sure, and I still had some clients asking for me to run the dance sessions online because they just enjoyed them. I think they just enjoyed me looking like a silly bugger online for an hour a day because I just it was fun. I did enjoy it, but I enjoyed the face-to-face.
Yeah,
much more. Yeah,
well, that's wonderful. I mean, that's amazing, thinking outside the box as to what you could get them to get to do, and doing using equipment, so to speak, that they had in their own homes and whatnot. I think exercise is one of the easiest things to figure out how to do anywhere, because they're like you said, you just pick up water bottles, you pick up pillows, you laundry detergent, soup cans, whatever. I mean, there's anything can become a weight. So
the easiest thing you can do, the hardest thing to start doing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Aside from cleaning my room, that would probably be the hardest thing to start doing. You can ask my partner, and she'll let you know. Or Justine. She had to live with me for 12 or 13 weeks over the lockdown.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So shared a room, and I'm in there doing my Zoom sessions, and then I'd be outside, and 10 o'clock every morning I'd be out there stretching and singing and everything, and she's trying to do work on her iPad, and all she can hear is me singing a Wiggle song, So
oh, I love the Wiggles.
You like Wiggles?
Yes. My daughter is too old for them now, but when she was little, we had Wiggles. I just thought they were great, and I still substitute in some of the schools around here, even while doing my own business now. And I was in a 3 and 4 year old classroom a while back, and I was so excited because I got to put the Wiggles on, and they just looked at me like, "Who are these people?" Like, oh, you've never heard of the Wiggles?
Have you do you listen to the old school Wiggles or the new school Wiggles?
Probably the old school ones.
Oh, the old school?
Yeah,
Greg and
like,
Murray and
yes,
Wake Up Biff and
yes. Yeah. Captain Wigglesworth, is that his captain?
Oh, Captain Feathersword, don't be silly.
Ah, yeah.
Come on. Yeah, and Henry the Octopus, and all the friends. Yeah, Wags the dog. How old's your daughter?
Well, now she's 21.
Okay, so she was part of my generation of learning all the Wiggles. Yeah. So you had the old school guys, Greg, and we held a formal on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually really curious to see how many of my followers actually watch this, or how many of my support workers that I kind of work alongside listen to this. because we actually tried getting Greg Page, the original Yellow Wiggle, to come in and be our guest speaker.
Yeah.
At our formal on the weekend, but unfortunately, no one ever got back to us. I think he had a heart attack earlier this year. On stage, he was performing. So that was good. So the poor guy. So I think he's kind of stepped away a little bit from that, and he's doing things like life support coaching and life support like training and what's called AED training and the R and stuff. So I think he's become a big advocate of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we actually tried getting the Yellow Wiggle to come into the formal. That would have been awesome, but yeah, unfortunately, I believe he lives in Sydney too, which is about 12-hour drive from here. So it's like an hour and a bit flight. So it would have been hard for him to make it. We would have covered all this, but yeah, we just heard nothing back. So next year, if you're the ball worker, knowing us, you can know that little bit of info. We're trying to get him for next year. So
yeah, I was looking at some of the videos that you had posted on Instagram from the formal, and you cleaned up very nicely, and so did everybody that you had on the video. I saw several of the members from the club there that you had shown on video, and actually, I think if you don't mind, I'd like to show just a couple pictures from your Instagram
go
page.
for it. Yeah, they're all over social. Not even worried.
Yeah, I don't have. Let me make sure I get the right one. Yeah, so I don't have any of your Facebook things, but I do have.
This is a cool system. Oh, you got our Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we just posted that one. So if you let that run for about 20 seconds. There you go. So you can see.
It looks amazing.
Well, yeah, we were super lucky to pull it off for sure. The lady that was in the black dress just in the front there. Oh, you can see the videos up there that we were playing and stuff. Yeah. The young woman that was in the black dress just earlier on that video is Sammy, my assistant, and she was just instrumental in running the whole thing. There's my Gran. Hey, Gran. She came along too. That was lovely.
Now, are you able to hear the video at all?
No, I can't hear anything, unfortunately. That's all right. I know exactly what I'm saying. I love my Gran, so that's okay.
Yeah. So, who are these three people? Well, obviously you're in the middle. Who are the two on the outside?
So, Liam is short. He's that guy. So that's the one that's on the left there. And the one in the tie is Sam. So he is the other coach. The other coach we have for all of the athletes. Okay. So he's a pretty cool dude. I'm just gonna take a photo of this. There we go. He's gonna love seeing that he made it on this because he is a shy guy. It's pretty funny. Yeah, that's Sam. So. Right.
Well, so speaking of the shy boy or shy guy, so what is this award that you're handing out?
So every one of our athletes received an award. So every one of our athletes, we wanted to make sure, but the preface of this is Sam and I wanted to kind of do an awards thing, and Sam and I got chatting. Yeah, it'd be nice to do awards, and him and I were both hyped up on a bit of caffeine one day, ready to go train, and I was like, dude, why don't we have a formal? And he was like, yeah. And the whole basis of that was basically all of the athletes that we look after, they don't get to do anything once they finish school. They get their formal in grade 12 or is it called a ball or a homecoming? Prom. Mm-hmm. Yes, you guys get a prom. So all our guys get their prom in grade 12, and then after that, they don't really get anything that's kind of based around them. They don't, unless they get invited to a wedding or something, they kind of get to dress up, which is cool, but they don't really get the chance to do, much else. Right. And so we thought, why don't we hold a formal and all of our awards can be given out there. And we wanted all the athletes to know that they are achieving something, they're doing something, and there's that positive reinforcement of you put in hard work for a year. And so we gave every single athlete that came along received an award for being an athlete. That was what it was, just being a Flying Kiwi athlete in 2020. And they got their little trophy and they got their little certificate you can see there. And they all individually got their own chance to step up on the stage, and they're up, elevated above everyone, and everyone's sitting down in their chairs, all dressed to the nines. Huge round of applause and cheering and whoops. And we had 40 athletes there. So the audience had to do it 40 times. But because the athletes, majority of them were all known by the crowd, it was genuine. There was nothing good on. All were so happy for all the athletes, and they were so excited that to see them, and some of the reactions are just beautiful. Big Tommy, that's Tommy Turbo just there. The poor guy can be very, very shy and run away from everything when we're at Strong Hearts and stuff. And when we said Big Tommy, he just came charging up, and he's bouncing and his hands are in the air and he was whooping and he was just clapping himself and you should have heard the crowd there, just they're yelling and screaming. They loved it, and seeing the little shy guy just animate as he did, it really showed the crowd works, the reinforcement, the beauty of the whole night was paying off. So we were really, really stoked to be able to pull it off, and young guys like Tom getting to have their chance in the spotlight, to know that they mean something, they have significance.
Yeah, that is beautiful and such a wonderful thing. So you have mentioned several times throughout this interview today, Strong Hearts, and it just because I saw the screen there. Tell us about your Strong Hearts Foundation, and while you're doing that, I am actually going to, at one point, I know I was able to find a Strong Hearts page, and I'm not sure how I came across it, so I'm going to try to find that while you're telling about the foundation so that I can show it again.
Okay, yeah, sure. Long story short, a while ago, we started doing special needs powerlifting. We heard that there was such a thing as Special Olympic powerlifting. We thought, hey, that's really cool. We'd love to do that. And so I started looking after a bunch of the athletes, teaching them to bench press, deadlift. And in doing so, I approached Special Olympics to see if there was any way we could have an Australian representative go over to the World Games to represent Australia, obviously, at Special Olympic powerlifting. Unfortunately, we were turned down, not because we'd done anything wrong, but the sport's never existed in Australia before. So it's never actually had any sort of, yeah, that's us. It's on Patreon, that's where it is. And so we've never really had, any sort of representation because there's no system, there's no competition structure inside Australia. And so I thought, okay, well, if we can't go to Worlds, I'll have my own federation and competition. How hard could it be? And I was so wrong. There's so much to it. Oh my goodness. But we decided to run our first powerlifting meet, which was called the Flying Kiwi Cup. And we named it the Flying Kiwi Cup, and it was basically just a novice competition. Didn't matter how much you were lifting, didn't matter, about rules and things like that. It was just, you move the bar, cool, white lights or green lights, and you're away. And in doing so, we got picked up a lot. We had a lot of people supporting us, and we had so many volunteers on the first day. We had nearly double the volunteers as what we did athletes, because they all just thought it was really cool, and they just wanted to get joined in. And so we ran the first day, and it started getting to the point where people were asking when's the next competition. So we went through Special Olympics. They thought it was a great idea getting powerlifting going, and so we moved powerlifting forward into what's called the IPF. I don't know if you've heard of the IPF, International Powerlifting Federation. So there's an arm of, that's like the international kind of board of power of the sport, and they basically look after the Olympics or the Special Olympics, and the Paralympics is I believe they look after the Paralympics too. And so in doing so, we got in touch with them to try and make things happen and try and have the sport exist inside Australia in a representative state. So it basically just meant that we had a way to get in and qualify at a local level, and then a way to qualify up another level at the state level, and then again at the national level, and then after qualifying in a national capacity against other states, ADT and New South Wales and Victoria, that we could have an elected team that earned the proper right to go to the World Special Olympic Games. Now, unfortunately, to do all that, it cost a lot of money, and it was, you know, not like for the athletes, and it was something that we couldn't really fix, I guess, without kind of putting in some of our money. So I decided to start a not-for-profit organization, which in Australia just means a business that just operates without profit, basically. Yep. So I don't get paid. I guess we just kind of put money in. So I started not-for-profit, started doing a bit of fundraising, and we had a lot of pickup really, really fast. And then, yeah, I think it was, and that was to help fundraise for young people with disability, or young people with all abilities, to be able to access sport and recreation programs. You know, not just powerlifting, but you know, powerlifting is just the world I'm in, and so that's just what's currently receiving. And in doing so, it basically just meant that we could try and, you know, start putting more money towards the athletes. And last year, roughly this time last year, I think, we ended up actually getting recognized as a fully blown charity, which basically just means that we can be a recipient from a large business, and we can be a tax write-off for them. They can get what's called a gift recipient receipt. And to get charity status is very, very hard. I've got some awesome people that help, you know, work alongside us to make it all happen. But that was basically how we started the charity. And the basis of it is basically to help fund young people with all abilities to access sport and recreation programs. And in big brackets and big parentheses, or whatever they're called, we want to get the first ever Australian Special Olympic powerlifting team to represent us at the World Special Olympic Games, which is 2023 in Berlin.
Okay.
So that's the whole story of the charity. But yeah, it's that's the goal.
That's a lofty goal. You can achieve it. So what are if people wanted to support you from here in the United States, they could just go to this page and they could just choose a level?
Yeah, if they'd like to. I mean, we have the Patreon, which allows for donation on like a monthly basis. So, you know, for less than the cost of a coffee a month, you can help support the athletes to try and get to the World Special Olympic Games. If subscribing to things is not your thing, obviously for plenty of people, you know, they can be very much hard done by in terms of cash. Right. You know, we never expect anything, but, you know, if you want to make a one-off donation, you can also donate via GoFundMe page that we do have. I can send you the link to that if you like. If you Google GoFundMe Strong Hearts Foundation, I'm sure you'll find it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all that in there. But basically, yeah, by subscribing to the Patreon, you kind of become one of our Flying Kiwi sidekicks. You know, you really help all of our little superheroes do their thing, and it basically just means that we can, you know, it kind of builds us a little bit of an income. But what we try and do in order to really make people feel a part of it is we have a documentary being filmed at the moment. So that's Matt.
Yeah.
He's our videographer, and we're currently being filmed for a documentary. And if you support us on Patreon, we will pop you in the end credits of the documentary.
Oh, nice.
And you know, give you a proper recognition for, you know, being a Flying Kiwi sidekick, helping us out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. So they've got the video, the documentary going on, and then here we have Matt and Michael and Emily. So is this Emily who had the birthday?
That is Emily. Yeah, her birthday.
Okay.
I had it this morning at the gym as well. So
okay.
She's probably on my Instagram story somewhere.
Yeah, that's why I thought when I had read this the other day that it was Emily. So that's kind of why I was taking a little extra time there to reread that. So, well, thank you for telling us about that, and hopefully somebody will pick it up and want to be a sponsor level and help that process go forward for you. And that's awesome. So we've talked about the gym. We've talked about the Strong Hearts Foundation. Is there anything that we've not talked about today that you would like to share. So in case anybody hasn't put it together, I talked about you supporting in more than the metaphorical ways that, you're literally supporting these athletes and how to, like I talked about, how to stand, how to hold the bar. I love watching you on Instagram with your clients, because you genuinely look, like you mentioned before, that you have the best job in the world. You genuinely look like that in the videos and in the pictures.
What you do?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why it's so fun to follow you and just to see what you're doing. And I kind of feel like I know some of the people, because they tend, like the gentleman I think it's Jeep and Prius. What are the two different vehicles that?
Oh yes, yeah, a Corolla, yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah.
Jeep and a Corolla, yeah, with young Jamie.
Yeah, and just seeing the banter that you have with your clientele, and watching them play the different games, the large group activities, I forget what it's called now, but I guess they have to like call out colors or call out
Red Rover.
Oh yeah, okay. That's
Red Rover. I call it. Yeah, it's Bull Rush. Red Rover. I'm not sure what it's called in the States.
No, it's called Red Rover. So, well, kind of. We have a Red Rover, but I think maybe the format of how it's done is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's not tackle. It's just tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be different. I don't know. You guys probably have like an NFL version where everyone's armored up and flattened to the floor.
Well, when I was in school, it was Red Rover, send so-and-so right over. So we'd have to, you'd call somebody's name in the opposite team. And then that person would have to run as fast as they could and try to break the arm hold between you and the person next to you.
Oh, yes.
So that's what I'm thinking of, at least when I think Red Rover. Maybe other people in the audience have a different version.
Yeah. No, you're right. So we have, Red Rover, when I grew up, so I actually grew up in New Zealand and I moved here when I was 15, but I think Red Rover in New Zealand was the same thing. But then we had also Bull Rush, and Bull Rush was just pick you, and they just got to run, and you got to try and tag them. And then Bull Rush is everyone gets to run. And then if anyone else has been tagged with you, they now turn and face the other people.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild, pretty fast. But yeah, we can't do the run through the line thing because we'll probably snap some arms.
Yeah.
Emily will just put her head down and just flatten through some people's arms, and yeah. Or Emily will put her arm up and just clothesline someone.
Yeah.
Run through. Now hit the floor.
And some of the things that I did in PE when I was growing up are not allowed anymore in PE in schools, because like Red Rover being one of them, people were getting hurt. Dodgeball, where you take the
you can't do dodgeball anymore.
No, we're not. No, not the way I used to have to play it, at least. I think they have versions now where instead of trying to get people out, you have they'll put pins up, like bowling pins, and you have to try to knock the pin down instead of aiming at a person. So there's a little bit more strategy. Yeah, I know.
How lame's that? Aim for the head.
Right.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
But that's the problem. We can't all dodge a wrench, apparently. So we weren't dodging the ball.
No. Oh dear.
Yeah, people were getting hurt. I'm, as I said, my daughter's 21, so I'm a lot older than you. So some of the things that I did, I look back now and think, well, it's just a miracle that my generation survived.
Yeah.
Compared to the things that your generation does now, that, we're like, well, we didn't wear helmets. We didn't wear padding. We just did the things,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I asked you the question and then I didn't give you the chance to answer. Is there anything else that you would like to share that we haven't already?
No, not really. I mean, I told a few of my friends I was doing this tonight, and they were asking me, "Are you nervous?" And I was like, "No, I just like talking and sharing the story of the athletes." And just kind of however that flows is how it flows.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I think it's a good natural conversation. I mean, obviously, I kind of understand, you know, your job and role. Like, how far away are you from like the perfect version of your job and role? How far away are you from that? You know, that perfectly diarized out week that you just imagine that you want to have. Like, is that pretty close for you now? Is that, you know, is that a couple of years down the track? Like, it's always interesting hearing the side of the story of the enjoyment of where people are at and how far they want to push that envelope, and if they, I guess from my perspective, if they really enjoy what they're doing, maybe they don't need the growth. However, if they enjoy what they're doing because they love helping people, then at what stage does their bar of expectation change for how many people they help versus their own enjoyment levels dropping because of the added stress of running more things, more people? You know what I mean? Like, how far away are you from where you think you might be the perfect version?
I really don't know. I've just been doing this particular format specifically for a few months, and I've been an education consultant for just a few years. So I mean, I still have lots of growth. I think I'm thinking years down the way before things are too. My logo is making the world better for all, one IEP at a time, one individualized education plan at a time. And so, you know, I feel like I've already made the world better just because I've been able to help one family, but I want to continue that. You know, I don't want there to be these limits that society places on people who learn differently. And when I mention limits, I don't mean physical, that, you know, somebody is saying stop, you can't do that. It's the idea that, you know, somebody in a wheelchair is going to always be in a wheelchair, or, you know, somebody who has an accident isn't ever going to be able to deadlift. You know, it's just those thought processes. And I think the idea came from myself because, like I said, I had placed limits on people who learn differently when I was younger. And I realized that that was wrong of me to do. And I am hoping to change other people's perspectives as well, you know, by doing this, by encouraging people to get to know everyone around them, no matter what those differences are. I've written a book. It just came out recently. And in the book, it's the same thing. It's 9 true stories of families who were told you can't, had limits placed upon them, and they've bust through those limits. So, as far as as my own personal life and my daily life, I don't work out.
Oh dear.
Don't tell.
I can't do much from Australia, so you're like 15 time zones behind us.
Yeah.
And a really, really long plane flight. So
Yes, we are. And thanks to our dumb state that I live in, we actually do we changed our time in October. So initially, when I reached out to you, I was 15 hours difference. Now I'm 16 hours difference.
You guys are doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we did that savings too. Except, sorry, I apologize. Queensland doesn't have daylight savings because, get this, the entirety of Australia has daylight savings. So all 6 states or whatever, aside from Queensland. Wait, 6 states? I don't know, I'm not Australian. But they all have daylight savings, and we don't, because apparently having daylight savings time is going to it's going to screw with the cows' milking schedule, because there's lots of farmland in outback Queensland, and so we don't get it. So every other state goes through daylight savings except Queensland because of the cows. That's what one politician decided, apparently, and that's why we don't have it. So it'd be better for us to have daylight savings, but we don't. So there's like one town about an hour and a bit south of us, and they have the state line goes directly through the center of the town. So if you're on one side of the street, your pub might close an hour early. You have to cross the road. It's so silly. I don't even know how they deal with it.
Oh.
Yeah. And like they say, like saving time in New Zealand, you know, and I'm so used to it. But yeah, you don't get it in Queensland. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's funny that it's the cows, because my understanding of why the United States started daylight savings is because of farmers trying to get their work done, and that they were losing their daylight during harvest time, and so they wanted to have that earlier sunrise. I don't really understand all the whole logic behind it, but yeah, but we do have I think I want to say there are a couple of states that don't change their clocks, but we kind of have similar. I mean, because of we have 5 different time zones in the United States, I think. So in the state that I'm in, Illinois, the states that border the east of us, they're in the Eastern time zone. And so if you live kind of on the eastern side of Illinois, you could drive 10 minutes and you've all of a sudden jumped an hour ahead.
Oh.
So yeah, kind of like
your Google Maps. Hey.
Yeah.
How long have I been driving?
Exactly. It just seems like I just got on the road and it's already an hour later.
Yeah, I blinked and I didn't think that red light was that long.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me. I could sit and talk to you all day long, but I know it's, getting close to your bedtime there, and you probably need to go have some ice cream yet for
do. I'm excited.
So again, thank you for joining me, and thank you for being a member of the hashtag No Limits, providing support for those who learn differently and helping them bust through those limits. If you watched this video today, please like it, please subscribe if you've watched it on YouTube. And if you have any questions about Michael or about my services, Shelley Keno Education Consultant, please drop them in the chat. I will make sure that Michael gets any questions to him, and I will answer my questions. Any special way that you say goodbye, or anything fun that you do? I wish I could think of the Wiggles way to say goodbye.
I can't remember how the Wiggles say goodbye, but mine, whenever we had all the Zoom sessions, was give me a high five.
Oh,
and
nice.
Now a fist bump.
No, okay.
Now an elbow.
Right. Yeah.
And a headbutt.
Oh, gee.
That was how we say goodbye.
Oh, that was perfect.
Fist bump, elbow, and headbutt. And then some of the guys tried doing it when we were back at the gym, and it didn't really work out well.
Yeah, I would think the headbutt especially would not be good.
Yeah, they still like the old bro hugs. Come in, big hug and stuff. So it's nice. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. It means a lot.
Yeah.
It's cool to tune in with someone on the other side of the planet and still hear that the value of we are actually here for our clientele and to try and make it a bit of a better place for them. It's beautiful to hear. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thank you.